pleasure to have with us Dr. Tony Heynen, who is a senior lecturer and program coordinator of sustainable energy at the University of Queensland. My name is Keshav. I'm the president of the UQ chapter of Engineers Without Borders, and we're also joined by Charlotte. If you could introduce yourself.
I'm a third year civil and environmental engineering and geographical science student and the school outreach coordinator for UQ chapter.
Sweet. So we're going to be having a number of these talks throughout the next few weeks, next month or so. And we're hoping to connect you to a different side of engineering, the side that normally you won't be in contact with in traditional networking nights. And often you have to reach out to other societies or other faculties to get this sort of exposure. So hopefully this will be of insight to you. A little introduction about Tony. Tony is a chartered professional engineering and a senior lecturer in the School of Chemical Engineering with extensive experience in university teaching, academic research, and the resources sector. His career in the resources industry spanned over 15 years and largely focused on environmental engineering and stakeholder management. Most notably, he was the country representative manager for Italian energy company Eni, if I'm saying that right, Eni, in Timor-Leste. And Tony has completed his PhD at UQ in 2017, investigating the business case for private sector investment in energy delivered to the base of the pyramid markets in rural India as part of a shared value approach. So this is something that's very much in line to EWB's approach to developing communities in this South Asia Pacific. In addition to his PhD, he has a Bachelor of Environmental Engineering at UQ, a Master of Engineering Science at the University of Melbourne, and an MBA from the National University of Singapore. He is a program coordinator for UQ's innovative sustainable energy postgraduate programs, which develop change makers to lead the shift towards clean, decentralized energy. Tony has responsibility for coordinating the program and its professional research projects, plus teaching into energy and development and energy investment and finance courses. Within this group, Tony is developing a project in Papua New Guinea involving energy access to remote communities via a sustainable business model. So we're so excited to have you on, Tony. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here, Keshav. Thank you.
So you had an extensive range of projects involved in energy and sustainability. What has been the most gratifying project that you've been part of?
That's a good question. I think looking back on my career, definitely my time in Timor-Leste was a very gratifying career highlight for me. And I guess that was probably the most EWB part of my career. So I started, as you said, in environmental engineering and kind of, I always had a curiosity and a keenness to work over in developing countries and in development. But I guess, and that comes from kind of I guess plenty of childhood trips to sort of exotic parts of the world, I guess. I was fortunate enough that my father was born originally from Europe, so we would travel to Europe a little bit for to catch up with family there, and would always sort of go through Asia. So I guess that's why I had kind of developed a real curiosity for kind of for travel and culture, and I guess other people's ways of life, and that was always fascinating to me. But I guess my career has been a bit more traditional in environmental engineering, up to a point where I guess if I look back on my career, sorry, I'm probably getting sidetracked, Timor-Leste, but I wanted to just say, like, sometimes like when you're on the path of working, you've got probably for all of you, you've got in the back of your mind that you're keen to do something in development and in humanitarian engineering and that sort of thing. But maybe you don't necessarily have that opportunity sort of straight away. And I think that was the case with me. So if I look back on my career, I started out, I worked as an environmental engineer with Western Mining Corporation. So I worked out in the middle of Western Australia at a nickel mine. Eventually got into oil and gas, and I think oil and gas is an interesting career and an interesting sector, because a lot of the oil and gas sectors, and I guess same is true with mining, a lot of the oil and gas locations for operations are often in, you know, far-flung parts of the world, in less developed parts of the world. So I recall in my career working as a consultant, working for Woodside, and working on a project in Mauritania. So I didn't go to Mauritania, but I got to know about Mauritania, and I developed an oil spill contingency plan for the company's operations in Mauritania, which I thought was really awesome. You know, I really wanted to know more about Mauritania. Well, it's, you know, a very interesting country that I'd never sort of thought of before. And then eventually, when I started work at Eni, we started to do plans and environmental management reports for operations in Timor-Leste, and then I eventually became the country manager up in Timor-Leste, and that was very cool. So I was responsible for sort of all the in-country stakeholder management and our sort of day-to-day operations in Timor. I got to build up a strong local staff base there. So we had around 15 staff, Timorese staff that, you know, we were developing, and that reported to me, which was really, really nice. And as part of the company's operations as an oil and gas company, there were a lot of corporate social responsibility projects that were done in different parts of the country, in education, in health, in water and sanitation, all sorts of things. So I was, you know, keenly involved in delivery of all that. So Timor-Leste was a real highlight for me, and I have been back since as well. And it's, you know, it's one of those places that's got a sort of developing future and quite a bright future, but a lot of challenges as well. So it's a really great place to work. Yeah.
On your work with Timor-Leste, another question with that is, like, what was your main challenges when you worked abroad there?
Yeah, good question. I think just the cultural aspects were challenging. Even though, you know, I thought, you know, I was very open to, you know, adapting to culture and that sort of thing. I learnt the local language there, Tetum. So I really tried to be part of the, you know, integrated as much as possibly could into life there. There were still some issues, you know, with, I guess, people management, staff management, culture. These sort of things were a bit harder to manage. You know, understanding people's motivations for work in Timor, that was slightly different to what I'd experienced or what I would expect. So yeah, I think, you know, not underestimating the cultural challenges and understanding the cultural context is a key one there that was keen for me, you know, really important for me to manage. And I guess I managed that through talking to, you know, peers within my industry that were working in Timor, and also, you know, other friends and that sort of thing. So really, you know, trying to understand the complexities of life there, especially, you know, it's a post-conflict society. So there are lots of different aspects that needed to be understood to really make sure that the company's operations were as effective as possible.
Could you give us an example as to how that, like, directly infringed upon your ability to complete the goals of your company?
So yeah, I guess specifically there was some issues with staff management, and I guess, without going into too much detail, there were just some issues with understanding, staff performance, staff motivation. As I said, understanding that there was some differences in why people were sort of coming to work in Timor was a little bit different, just slightly different than compared with, say, Australia, where I was used to. So, just thinking about those sort of aspects and motivations, trying to put yourself in the other person's sort of shoes was key. So it was all about, the people bit was hard at one point, but as I said, support with a good support network, was able to kind of work through those issues. Yeah.
Linking to that, like in Papua New Guinea, obviously also over abroad, how was your project with that? Like, what was your project over there, and how does that link to like the project sustainability business model?
So in Papua New Guinea, we have. So I was fortunate enough to lead a project a couple of years ago that got some funding from Total, the French energy company, and that was about a train-the-trainer program involving a community in remote Papua New Guinea. So we had connections with a university in Papua New Guinea through our contacts here at UQ. And we basically implemented a train-the-trainer program where we got students from a local, kind of like almost like an EWB type organisation in Papua New Guinea. They were called The Voice. So they were sort of young, energetic future leaders of the country, basically, that were kind of mobilised to make a difference in Papua New Guinea. And we were able to connect through our connections with the University of Goroka. We were able to connect with a bunch of students, 12 students in Madang in Papua New Guinea. So we designed a train-the-trainer program, because when we talk about, like, in my research looks at energy poverty, so the lack of access to modern forms of energy. And when we want to talk to community, it's kind of hard sometimes, especially with cultural aspects, with language aspects, these sort of things. So the program that we designed was a train-the-trainer program where our group from UQ met with these 12 university students in PNG that were young and enthusiastic and kind of very switched on about the challenges of Papua New Guinea. So we got to have a training workshop with them where we talked about energy access. We talked about some community participatory models of engagement with community. So a full day workshop. It was all pretty rushed, but we did a full day workshop with these PNG students, and then we took the PNG. Our group together, the UQ plus the Goroka academics plus the students from Madang, these 12 uni students. We went to a community north of Madang where the Goroka academics had some sort of family connections with this place. And it was just kind of almost a living laboratory where these students that we trained then went out into the community, and we were kind of watching, I guess, from the sidelines, but it was really led by the students then who had this new knowledge. Those students went out to the community, to 5 different villages within a community. The communities had no access to electricity, and it was just getting the community to start to talk about electricity, energy access, just opening the conversation about energy access and energy needs. And it was kind of, it was definitely a wonderful experience from our part. Like the 4 UQ people that were involved in the project, had a really amazing time, I guess, in terms of interaction with the students and then interaction with the community as well. The students got to experience some aspects of community participatory approaches, which was really good. So we trained the students to do like a problem and solution tree and different analysis techniques like that. And then the students, using Pidgin, that's their language up in PNG, they obviously able to easily communicate with the community members. And with the community, they conducted a number of workshops. So that was also, I think, good for the community because it just kind of, as I said, opened the conversation about energy access. It got the community to kind of, they've experienced different energy interventions, let's say, in the past that haven't really lasted. And I guess what we were trying to kind of ascertain from the program was what their relationship with energy was, what their aspirations for energy are, and how they might sort of chart a path to increased energy access. So I guess it just opened up the conversation, which when you think about it, when you think about any sort of intervention that you might do in sort of humanitarian engineering, the very first thing you need to do is not arrive at a village with this new technology and, hey, everyone, you're going to use this technology. But it's just, what you need to do, I think, and, literature reinforces this, is that talking to community is much more appropriate and important, because not only will you be able to design appropriate technology that matches the needs of the community, but also the community, by getting community buy-in at a very early stage in the process, you'll be able to ensure that there's a stronger community ownership of that project. And then, the project's got much more chance of success. So I guess what we did in that program in a few years ago was the very beginning of kind of a program that we hope to replicate, but also kind of expand upon. So if you think about, first of all, what we've done is an energy needs assessment. Now the next step is kind of, looking at that needs assessment and then thinking about appropriate technology that might be able to match the particular context of these villages that we've discussed. It opens up the conversation, and that's really been the start of our overall project as well. So we have a sort of larger project in PNG, which we called Empower, and Empower is about I guess a wider program of connecting villages in Timor in Papua New Guinea that don't have access to electricity. So we have focused on a province in Papua New Guinea called the Western Province. And Western Province is just north of the Torres Strait, and it borders Indonesia. It borders the Papua area of Indonesia, like West Papua, basically. So it's a really strategic place. It's a borderlands area in between Australia and Indonesia, and it's the poorest province in Indonesia, and it has a very dispersed population. So we're fortunate enough. I'm working with another, I guess, former engineer, Professor Mark Moran. He's now definitely a social scientist. He works in the Institute for Social Science Research at UQ. And we are developing a program where we can, kind of do the same sort of thing, energy needs assessment, We're looking at connecting with community as well. Now, sorry, Charlotte, one of the things you mentioned was sustainable business model. So that's really important, I think, when you come to implement a program, how do you ensure its longevity? And in my PhD studies in India, I examined a company called OMC Power. And OMC Power have, as the basis of their business model, using solar energy to supply power to telecom towers. So as you can imagine, in India and everywhere, there's telecom towers that need power to promote the telecom mobile telecom signal across the country. And so that requires power. In OMC's case, they used the need of these telecom towers for power to convert from, say, diesel, which they were using mostly, to solar power, and that provides an anchor load, a stable revenue that a business can make money from and have a reliable source of revenue to basically, at the very least, cover costs. So that's a big issue when you're coming into a community. How do you kind of get revenue from a community to enable some sort of business to occur in terms of selling electricity? So having a stable revenue partner in a telecom tower enables you to then consider other uses in the community, which might be a bit more marginal in terms of a business case. So in the case of OMC Power, they looked at businesses as well. So they had the model was ABC, so anchor, business, and community. So the anchor was providing the stable revenue and the main base load of power. Businesses, there was this company OMC encouraged businesses to be set up that could also tap into the power that's provided by this new solar system and pay for that electricity that they use, and also providing a bit more of a stable source of revenue for the business. And then C, community, so that was a bit more of a marginal sort of product offering and a marginal cost offering to consumers, to households. And the main reason for doing community was, well, of course, all the social responsibility aspects of providing power to community, but also the social license to operate that, including community in a new system like this, social license to operate is really important. So taking that business model, putting it into PNG is one of the key things that we're trying to do with this new idea in PNG and power. Only 13% of the country of Papua New Guinea has access to electricity at the moment, and the goal is to get up to 70% by 2030, so in 10 years' time. So it's a very, very steep rise in electricity access that's required to achieve this target of 70%. And decentralised power systems with a business model, which we hope to use the ABC model in PNG. The business model will be really, really important to making sure that any energy interventions, energy access and interventions will be long-lasting, I guess, and not just something that's done, quickly and then sort of forgotten about or doesn't have any maintenance associated with it. So I should point out, so in telecom towers in PNG, some telecom towers in PNG, they actually have helicopters that chopper in diesel to provide the power to run the telecom tower operations. So that's not that good, I guess. It doesn't seem logical or sustainable. So if we can kind of have an idea of, you know, perhaps still having diesel as a backup. It's pretty hard to get to 100% reliability for solar systems, but having it as a backup and having most of the energy coming from renewable energy, from solar energy, that'll be a great thing. And then also powering community as well, and potentially businesses. So that's the project. Yeah, we're hoping to get funding from DFAT, from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and there's a program that the High Commission in Port Moresby is running. We're hoping to get some money from DFAT and also from UQ as well. And it's pretty exciting. It should see UQ, it'll see UQ as actually a development sort of actor. It'll, a development actor, rather than, I guess, like a sort of researcher monitoring what's going on, but UQ will actually be involved at the coalface in terms of supplying energy to a community.
I think you've got some good points there about like human-centered design and appropriate technology. Maybe the people that don't know what human-centered design is, because no one taught at uni, like a quick little definition of human-centered design.
I guess it's just thinking about the humans. It's design centered on humans. So it is thinking about the end user and about how that product or that service is going to be used. There's no point in designing an amazing system that's not going to be kind of fit for purpose, that's not going to be used, I guess, initially. I mean, don't forget, like, you know, as humanitarian engineers, you might go into a project and you might, you know, work with community, implement a program, a project, an idea, but then you'll probably leave. So that's really important. What happens when you're not there? You know, maybe they're going to keep using whatever you introduce into the community while you're there. But I guess the thing is, like, you know, it has to be connected to the community. They have to own it. They have to want it. They have to. There's no point in designing. I guess at all phases, from sort of scoping through to needs assessment, through to design, and then implementation. All of those things need to take into account the end user, the community in which it's in which the program's going to be operating. Otherwise, there's no chance of that project being continued, you know, for the long term, which is really what we want.
Can I ask really quickly? You talk about, you know, communities really wanting this technology or this progress. To what extent was electricity a self-identified need in PNG and or Timor-Leste?
I'll probably talk more about India, because I've probably done more research in India, and yeah, there is. So generally, let's say in India, we're talking about communities that have some experience with electricity, and I think a good company that comes to mind when we're talking about sort of identification of energy needs is a company called Gram Urja, and they operated in Pune in Maharashtra, and that company would basically had like mini grid systems, but they would only implement their projects, their technology. They'd only implement their technologies in communities that wanted their technology. And generally, you know, communities under, you know, India's pretty dense population, so there's probably communities, you know, quite nearby that might have energy access, so they're familiar with energy access. But this company would only enter communities that wanted energy access. And one of the first things that this company would do when they enter the community would be to set up a village energy committee, and that would involve, I guess all the stakeholders, households, businesses, etc., and work with Gram Urja to understand their energy needs. And interestingly, Gram Urja is all about, energy for development. So they're really big on productive uses of energy. So they would not be so keen if a community said, "Oh, we want energy so we can watch the cricket on TV." Gram Urja probably wouldn't be so keen to engage with that community, because Gram Urja are all about kind of making sure that energy is used, or the community wants to use energy for productive uses, because that's really where strong development outcomes can be achieved. So they would work in communities where 80% of the energy that was produced by their systems was being used for water pumping, rice milling, other sort of small manufacturing or primary production activities. So yeah, they're all about that, and all about, I guess, engaging with community, understanding community. So governance is really important. Being able to get community leaders on side, I think, is really important in this whole understanding of needs. But yeah, it's a bit chicken and egg sometimes, I think, but I think having strong leadership in communities is really important, because often you can kind of talk to the leaders, they might get it, and then there might be further discussion with the rest of the community, and then there might be sort of a snowball effect from there. Yeah.
You good? Can you say?
No, you can go, Charlotte.
Yeah. So we'd like to know your personal definition on sustainability and how those link to your career.
A personal definition on sustainability. What is this, an exam or something? Oh my God. Well, it's good. Yeah, I think sustainability comes back to the Sustainable Development Goals. I really like those. We use those a lot in our classes on energy and development. So I really love. I really like those 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and I like kind of assessing projects against those SDGs. It's sometimes not done that often. One of the things that we sometimes do with projects is, and we get our students to do this as well in the sustainable energy programs, is assess projects and reflect on how sustainability might connect through to the 17 SDGs, and kind of just do a sort of a checklist, a stop check on how a program that might, is labelled as being sustainable, I guess from an environmental, from a human, from an economic point of view, how that connects through to the SDGs. So I think SDGs is really important. The other aspect of sustainability that I think is really important is the economic sustainability. So that's why, I guess, even though that's why I'm talking about sort of financial sustainability, even though I'm really keen on environmental sustainability and, the social sustainability of projects. But it's got to have it can't be like a sort of bottomless pit. It's got to be a project that somehow can stand up, I think. We're very wary in any of our programs, and like for this new UQ initiative in PNG and Power, we're really, really cautious that what we do there is not going to be like just another project that's being implemented without thinking about all the aspects of sustainability, and especially the sort of that long-term financial sustainability, which will enable it to be have some longevity. So yeah, is that what grade will you give me there, Charlotte?
That was quite good. It actually was similar to one of my exam questions. It wasn't my question, that was Amy's. That was Amy's sustainability question.
Amy. Okay.
Yeah, so
SDGs,
I think like,
just think about the SDGs when you think about sustainability. I think that's pretty good.
yeah, I think they're really important.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your main barrier you faced in your career and how did you overcome it?
Oh, main barrier to my career. Good question. I guess I've maybe I've been a bit impatient sometimes. I think patience is important. Again, I might come back to that idea of kind of, you know, the different pathways, the different routes that you can take to, you know, where you want to get to. So all of you guys, I guess, are interested in, you know, doing some cool stuff overseas in development and getting, you know, making a difference. And I'm the same. I guess being patient, you know, is important, and grabbing different opportunities when you can is important. And I think, you know, I've certainly done my fair share of like boring, you know, I don't know, safety risk assessments. Sorry if anyone's loved safety, but, you know, like, I don't know, stuff that I thought was boring. And, you know, it all just sets you up. It all kind of gives you a strong work ethos and work culture that then, you know, because I think one of the key things when you go to any country, like, you know, as I said, the main sort of big break for me in terms of like my career was getting over to Timor. And that was because, yeah, I knew the company because I'd worked in all sort of different aspects of the company. I had a strong work ethos and I was trusted as well. So they could send me to Timor and they knew that I wouldn't, you know, I was like understanding of the company and someone that could be trusted. So I guess being patient is important. And sometimes, yeah, I haven't been patient. Sometimes I've kind of jumped off and done different things. I was so keen on going overseas. At one stage I went to Morocco, worked on a project in Morocco for a few months, which was great. But I kind of, made sure I kept my options open to come back to the company I left and re-engage with them doing the safety. That was actually during the time I was doing the safety risk assessments. So yeah, coming back, leaving options open to come back to keep going with those sort of more mundane things that eventually give you the capital, let's say, to be able to do sort of cooler stuff. Yeah.
So speaking of patience, I'm curious as to what you would think has been the best move you've made in your career, or at least where you thought you went from a career that was kind of passive, just one where you thought or you knew you were making a difference.
Yeah, I think that one is probably when I worked at Western Mining. Then I worked at International Risk Consultants in Western Australia, and I worked in international risk consultants as a consultant. So I found as a consultant, I had slightly less control over what I was working on. And I don't know if any of you worked already as, you know, in consultancies, you know, time is money. It's all about billable hours and that sort of thing. And I think my big move was leaving IRC. This was a little bit sneaky of me. So well, not sneaky, but opportunistic of me. So I was a consultant for E&I, Annie. So I was working in-house at Annie as a consultant. And, you know, when you're a consultant, you're kind of, this is just my personal experience. I felt like I was kind of in two worlds. I was half an Annie employee, but I was still an employee back at IRC. Excuse me, I'll just have a... So I think, yeah, then an opportunity came up at IRC to work directly at IRC. And I think that jump across to IRC to work directly for a company was really, really good for me, because that then, you then slightly freer, and you're then kind of really seen as part of the team. And, you know, for an oil company, you know, looking to do things in different places, you know, they have a longer term view of like investment in your training. They want to give you experience all around the organisation, and that sort of thing. So I found there was more opportunity and more kind of freedom to be exposed to different elements of the organisation. So, and then that enabled me to, you know, so then I was working in-house in IRC as an IRC employee, in-house at Annie as an Annie employee, working on environmental management plans. And then because I was working on environmental management plans in Timor, and then the environmental management plan preparation, I got to know all the different aspects of the company. Then when the opportunity came that, oh wow, we've discovered some oil reserves in Timor that we're going to develop into an operation, we need someone in Timor, then I was well positioned there to make the jump across. And yeah, those sort of opportunities that can be kind of quite organic and easy to happen when you're in a bigger company as a staff member, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So what's been your most rewarding thing about your career?
Well, yeah, apart from Timor, which was very rewarding, I think doing the PhD was not rewarding during it. It was a bit of a struggle, but I look back on it and go, yeah, I did that. Did I really do that? No, I really did that. Yeah, I got a PhD. Sometimes I have to dig out the certificate just to make sure that actually happened and I do actually have a PhD. But yeah, it's rewarding to look back on because it was tough. So I think sometimes, yeah, I'm a little bit of the belief, I don't know if you guys are, that, you know, easy things aren't rewarding and tougher things are rewarding. Do you guys find that? Charlotte,
I definitely agree with that. Like at the time.
Pardon?
I definitely agree with that. At the time, you might feel like something's really tough and not worth it. But when you look back on the experience, you can see how much it changed as a person and influenced you.
Yeah. And Keshav, have you experienced that?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd also say that doing something that's difficult or scary is it's precisely the reason you should be doing it, because it's something that allows the growth or development and some sort of change. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, you don't want to, I mean, I dare say that you guys as EWB members will probably not be looking for a 9-to-5 job in the city, but maybe you will. Maybe you'll be there initially, But yeah, it's funny sometimes. I think with career, you just kind of grab opportunities that come up as well. I mean, my great experience was in Timor, but I couldn't have said when I left university that, in 10 years after graduating, I want to be, in Timor, or I wanted to be in a stakeholder management role in an interesting country overseas. So yeah, it's hard to chart your progress, but I think, yeah, that's exactly right. You've got to keep kind of grabbing opportunities and challenging yourself. I think that's healthy, and that's how you'll kind of get to where you want to get to. Yeah.
Linking to that, when you were an undergrad studying environmental engineering, did you see your career going? Like, how did you see your career going then?
I might add to that, like, what do you think, how relevant was it to where you ended up, or what do you take away from that as well, maybe?
Yeah. So I've never, ever done like a mass transfer sort of calculation since leaving university. So I did environmental engineering, but based in chemical engineering. I've never used any of the chemical engineering knowledge that I had, unfortunately. And now I work in the School of Chemical Engineering, but I'm not really a chemical engineer. So yeah, some of the things, I mean, you're definitely going to be doing some things that are kind of not so relevant, but I think, it was tough. You become quite resilient. You know how to find information. You know how to work in teams. So all of these things, I think, are valuable. I really value, the let's say, emotional, the sort of soft skills, the EQ skills, the soft skills that you get through university, even though you're doing sort of more like, heavier engineering type things. The soft skills that you get from working in a group and finding out information, doing your own research, they're really, I think they're the most important things that you'll kind of, build upon. And yeah, I did hang on. I remember hanging on to my all my lecture notes from my undergrad, and put them under the stairs of my parents' house. And they've just sold the house. I had to clean out the house, and I'd never, I'd forgotten about them. I'd never kind of used them, even though I put a lot of in some subjects I put a lot of work into the courses. So yeah, I think that sometimes the knowledge that you get at uni can be a bit transient, but I think you'll always know where to get that knowledge if you need it in the future, and you'll have those soft skills that are so important for your development. Yeah.
I guess you didn't really see your career going the way it did. Like, it was more, you've just kind of gone along with it, as like your projection has kind of changed.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. So when I did environmental engineering, that was quite a long time ago. I mean, yes, there were environmental concerns, but it was a very new field for the university as well, environmental engineering. So no one really, I guess, probably not even the university kind of knew where environmental engineers would go. And I think, if I look at my friends, the cohort that I graduated with, there'd be only a handful that would still be doing kind of environmental engineering type things, and people have just kind of gone in a lot of different directions. And I think that's true probably for even more sort of like focused, like just pure chemical engineering. My friends that even did pure chemical engineering are probably also still now their careers have dispersed all over the place. So yeah, I think taking opportunities as they come up is always good. And yeah, as we said, as we discussed, like challenging yourself, not necessarily, not being set on a particular path and pursuing that at all costs, but kind of being a bit flexible and going with the flow, but also kind of having an idea of where your career is going, but not being too hung up about that all the time, especially, first job out of uni. And it's always better to have a job to get another job, if you know what I mean. Like, it's harder to get employment if you're unemployed, I think. So that's why it's, it's tougher, it's tough to get your first job for sure. So, yeah.
So you talk environmental engineering, the possibilities and revealed and vegetarian engineering is going to be introduced more formally at UQ. So do you have any ideas on how that's going to go? Or
yeah, sorry, you broke up a little bit there, Kashav, but I think you said, like, what are my thoughts on humanitarian engineering being more prominent at UQ as a course and as a stream? Is that right? Hello, Kashav. I think we lost Kashav.
Yes, that's what he's asking, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's asking. Okay, good. Yeah, good. Look, I'm pretty excited about. I'm pretty excited that UQ is going to offer a humanitarian engineering course next semester. That's going to be great. Yeah, and yeah, it's it's going to be. Look, I'm not a big fan of like Bachelor of Engineering honours in humanitarian engineering, to be honest, because I think having it as a major is probably a bit too much. Like, I think you need something. I don't know. I would think you're pigeonholing yourself a little bit too much if you say, I'm going to be a humanitarian engineer. But maybe as a minor is kind of, that could be cool. And certainly, yeah, I think the course next semester is going to test the waters. I know the course coordinator, Paul Lant, very well, and also Vigya Sharma. Dr. Vigya Sharma is going to be involved in the lecturing as well. So they're both great people, and that's going to be it's going to be a really cool course. Hopefully, I'll get invited to guest lecture there or something in that course. You never know, you might see me again. But yeah, you can always do little bits and pieces of extra study after your BE as well. Yeah, my friend is doing a graduate certificate in disaster risk management at the University of Newcastle online. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And so you can always like do those sorts of things as well as you go along. And like the program that I work on now as program coordinator is Master of Sustainable Energy. So it's kind of a niche sustainable energy program as well, which has some aspects of humanitarian engineering in there in terms of energy access. So yeah, you can always, look, I'm a bit of a junkie for education, like, and that I guess whenever I've not known what I'm going to do with my life, when I've kind of had a slight identity crisis or like finished one sort of part of my career, I've gone and done some study, because I think it's always good to update your skills and your knowledge, and you'll be encouraged to do that throughout your careers as an engineer. You know, that's a requirement of Engineers Australia at the very least, but you'll need to do that just to, you know, maintain your relevancy to the profession and to society. So yeah, you know, you'll always be able to, I think, connect in with different things that are being offered, and you'll be able to do some quite niche courses, either, you know, formally as a master's or graduate diploma or graduate certificate, or short courses as well. So yeah, it's good, but I think it's, yeah, I'm looking forward to next semester in GY 2000. So are you all doing that? There's 11 of you online.
I'd definitely be keen to be taking that course on. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any electives, but I've just taken top of my degree anyways.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Don't overload your semester.
No, right.
You're not doing like 12 credits or something, 12 units or.
No, that's crazy.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely agree with you about the humanitarian engineering, that it's quite niche and it's good to apply like a sort of like electrical engineering to it, or chemical or civil. That's quite good, yeah. Do you have any advice to students that are about to graduate this year?
Oh, yeah, I guess just if you're looking for work, yeah, grab anything you can, basically. I would think that's really important. Like, grab something is good if you can get it, and then you can always yeah, you know, go in different directions later. Yeah, don't be too stressed about your first job. Just grab something and get cracking, and then you can always do something later. I'm interested, are any of you kind of thinking of doing, well, I don't know who's graduating in this group here, but maybe even if you're not graduating, are you ever thinking about doing something on your own, like rather than getting a job working for a company?
So I think everyone, you're welcome to unmute yourself and join in the conversation as well. Personally, I'm definitely interested in being a part of a development project, but as someone who's still an undergraduate, the extent to which that's available to me, it's a little bit vague for me.
Yeah.
But I see that, like, I've found a lot of interesting things that are happening that people have started off, especially in things with energy, like electrification of villages, and especially in places like India, which is of great interest to me personally. So I think that I'd be willing to do that if there's something original out there, and not just so that it's like an ego boost, and to see that there's something original and something new that's being offered. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. We had, I once tutored Eng 4900, which I think all of you will have to do at some stage. And one group, bunch of electrical engineers, they came up with an idea. I think one of the students had some Indian heritage, and she knew about the shanty towns in Mumbai and other big cities in India. And she was focused on, so this assignment project in Eng 4900 was like come up with an innovative idea on tackling something. I think one of the choices was energy poverty. Anyway, she came up with a really great idea, which was to look at sort of the lights that are often, the candles that are often burning in front of like a deity inside people's homes, and replacing that, you know, candle, whether it was kerosene or whatever, with an electric light that was kind of connected up to also a light for the household. And often it just takes like a good idea, and, you know, connections, I guess, and knowledge of context there to develop an idea like that into something cool. I don't think they didn't take it to anywhere as far as I know. But it was a really cool idea, because it was very culturally appropriate, and, you know, not too aggressive in terms of what it was trying to do. And really, it was a really nice idea. So sometimes, you got a little idea, then, you know, that little idea can be the spark for something that could lead on to, you know, other pathways. So.
I think that's all the questions we have being sent. But if anyone else has any other questions from the audience, they're free to ask them.
So I'm a first year student, and I'm just trying to figure out kind of where I'm wanting to go. How did you kind of figure out that? I missed the start of this, so it may have already been answered, but how did you kind of figure out that chemical/environmental was like the way you were kind of going?
Oh, I don't have a good story here. I didn't like engineering. I thought, oh God, what have I done? Like, first year engineering, I was like not interested. And then there was this like environmental engineering. I was like, oh, that seems pretty good. And for me, in my mind anyway, that was the most kind of the least engineering, if you know what I mean. It wasn't like heavily focused on, I mean, it kind of is, but I guess it was kind of thinking about, a whole heap of other things about ecology and society as well. So that was my main sort of consideration, was like, okay, I want to do engineering. It seems like a solid sort of thing to do, but environmental engineering might be good, because it does other stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So maybe that might be, humanitarian engineering might be a really good one. You know, like, I don't know, having a strong basis in engineering is important, but I think being able to, you know, I dare say that all of you guys doing, you know, in this Engineers Without Borders group are kind of quite, quite altruistic students, quite, you know, thinking about other things, probably thinking about wider things. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just rambling now, but yeah.
No, thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay.
That was an excellent question, actually. I'm curious as to, you mentioned a lot of things going on at UQ at the moment. What has happened? What's out there for people to get involved with straight away as undergrads?
Well, you probably know more than me about those sort of opportunities, but sorry, I'll just move over here. The Sustainable Energy Network is a pretty good other society that you could get involved with, because they're doing a lot of cool stuff that connects. You know, they do projects that connect with real world examples often. So that's a good other society to be involved with, as well as EWB, I would think, if you're interested in energy. Thinking about different, if you've got any ideas and kind of develop it. Like, if like Charlotte and Amy know more about this. They presented to the first years the other few months ago. But there's all these cool like UQ Ventures things. You mentioned going to Israel or something like that. I forget who said that, but there's all those kind of cool entrepreneurial things. I'd be very keen on doing all of those if I was an undergraduate. That gets you exposure to different cultures and gets your ideas thinking. So Charlotte's the expert there.
Okay, sweet. We have a raised hand from Byron. So Byron, feel free to ask your question.
Thanks for that. So I'd just like to ask a question about like seeing that you have experience in both like working in academia and also in industry. What are your sort of views as to like how both of these work together, or how each of these sort of impact society, and what are the connections on to society, and how they could sort of contribute to society in their own ways?
Yeah, good question. I think that, obviously industry is very much part of society and kind of drives society in many ways. Academia is an interesting one. So yeah, sometimes academia can be in a bubble, and that can be pretty dangerous. So, or pretty unproductive, let's say, and kind of useless. So I'm very much, in my role in sustainable energy programs at UQ, we're all about kind of making sure that there's really strong connections between our academic teaching and industry. So we want to make sure that there's, for our graduates, so I'm exclusively focused on sustainable energy, the postgraduate programs. We want to make sure that there's strong pathways like between our graduates and employment, and that we're providing I guess teaching that's relevant in what industry wants and what society wants. So we have a lot of industry events. Every one of our courses has at least not in COVID times, but in non-COVID times, we have a lot of industry engagement events and industry dinners and that sort of thing, where we really want to make sure there's strong interaction. Our lecturers as well, a lot of them come from industry. Sustainable energy is quite niche, so we want to make sure that we have sort of like the theoretical aspects, but we also want to talk, have a very live discussion about the issues involved in the transition to sustainable energy. So to do that, we have a lot of industry people either guest lecturing or giving seminars and that sort of thing. But having said that, I love being, I guess if I reflect on kind of what I liked best, well, I did like working in industry. That was good. But I really like working with young people like you, the future. You guys are going to, change. You guys are our future, and you'll be the ones making decisions. And I guess as I get older, I realise that if I can help, support you as you get on in your careers and help you start your careers, then that's really cool as well. So I love, as I said, I love education as well. I've always kind of gone back to education, and I made the decision to go from industry to academia when I was doing my MBA, when I had another sort of like slight career crisis. I studied my MBA. I went to Singapore, and in Singapore, I really appreciated, not because the lecturers were particularly amazing, but they were amazing. I really appreciated the in-depth knowledge that they had. They really knew stuff like really well. And my career was becoming sort of more and more generalist, I guess. So I think, that was when I decided, okay, I want to know something really well. And I think university is a great place to be able to know something really well. It's quite, as a PhD, doing a PhD is quite indulgent as well, so you can get to know something that you want to understand really well. But yeah, and now as a sort of lecturer and program coordinator, I'm more like making sure that my research can now support teaching, that then can support pathways to getting people into jobs. So I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks for the answer. Thanks for your response. It's been it's very insightful. Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries, Warren.
Okay, I think if it's cool with you, Tony, we'll have one more question from the audience and we finish up.
Sure.
So does anyone have a question?
Hello, by the way. I don't have so much of a question, but I want
Patrick!
Hello, Tony, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Dude, I am amazing and stressed and amazing. Thank you. How are
Okay,
you?
good, great. That's how I know you.
Yeah.
I only know you that way, yes.
I wanted to throw my two cents in for the first question to Mrs. Coates. I was just trying to say, so I don't have an engineering career yet, but as a veteran student by this point, follow your interest. I think Tony said it in more words, but yeah, follow your interests. For instance, I started in chemical engineering, thought this is shit, moved to something else. And even again this year, I changed my major purely because I realized, yeah, no, it's good things, Tony. Don't look like
How
that.
many majors have you done?
I'll finish with 2.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Finish is important.
Oh, I'm so close, Tony. I'm not doing
Good.
whatever this new subject is for humanitarian engineering.
I get that. No,
2
don't.
left.
Distracting.
I
Yeah.
got a thesis and stats and I'm out.
Good.
Anyway, but yeah, thanks heaps, Tony. This was really insightful. This was good.
Excellent.
I've been listening to podcasts of other more mature engineers recently, and this was you cream of the crop, mate.
Oh, thanks, Patrick. Cheers, mate. Patrick and I go way back. Patrick did a what was it, M1600? You did your placement in the Energy and Poverty Research Group.
Yeah, really good. Worst grade I've ever got. Most talked about content that I got from university that I've ever spoken about with anyone outside of university.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear. Good stuff. Good that you're almost done then, Patrick. That's great.
So close.
And yeah, just got to. Yeah, there's no point bloody graduating as a chemical engineer if you can't stand like mass transfer and process engineering. So, well, okay, there is, but just do a little bit. Just do as little as you can, and then do. I don't know. I don't want to give you career advice, or academic advice, but finish it, but enjoy it if possible.
Yeah, don't be bored for 4 years. That would suck.
Don't be bored for 4 years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm doing that at the moment. I just transferred. I did biomed last year for a year, so I'm giving it all a go.
And what are you going to do? Environmental now, is that right? Environmental chemical? Or?
Yeah, I'm kind of like looking at like environmental chemical or biological, something. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. Good. Well, good luck to all of you. It's great. I love EWB. more generally, and then best wishes to all of you guys. In these strange times, and good luck with your careers as well. And you're welcome to contact me anytime as well. I'm always happy to have a chat if you need any advice or anything like that.
All right,
Thank you for
sweet.
that. It was really interesting.
No worries.
All right. So thank you everyone who came and engaged with us, especially the 3 wonderful questions and inputs that we've had from the audience. Thanks so much, Tony, for joining us. It's been really interesting to get to know this side and get to know you as well.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you, Kishav. Thanks, Charlotte, for organising.
Pallavi.
And Pallavi, yes. So big shout out to
Pallavi,
Charlotte and Pallavi. Yeah.
Good.